Welcome back. Let's continue with this week's stories. Sunil, we have our own API president, Sunita Kanumuri, who was honored in West Orange. She is the president of the American Association of Physicians of Indian Origin.
Right. She recently took over. Yeah, she just took over in the month of June.
Right.
And been all over the places for major events to make her visibility and, of course, her vision clear.
So she was felicitated by the Indian Americans and by the government officials and community members who gathered together in a community hall in West Orange.
Yeah, actually it is the city hall, and Nitya, we have observed in last few years that every city where there is a significant Indian population, they are now assimilating not only with the community but also with the political landscape of the town. And in this case, the event was organized by Mr. Soni Thapar, who is an active wealth management expert and Indian American.
Apparently the oldest resident, Indian
exactly.
resident
and
in West
he's been living there
Orange.
for 24 years. And Mayor Robert Parisi, who was invited as one of the honored guests, he thanked the community for sharing the Indian traditions and with the Americans, and he was very happy that Thapar organized this, and he expects that as the time goes by, there will be more and more such events. And our own Assemblyman, Deputy Speaker John McKeon was there. He said he's very happy that he adopted that town to live because of the
diversity.
Yeah,
absolutely.
They're all talking about diversity of ethnicity, racial, economic groups, and he is very happy that he made a good decision about it. And they hope that in the coming years, this type of traditions will continue in the town. And of course, we will see other towns now coming up with similar celebrations as the New Year comes, Republic Day comes, India Day parades come.
Don't you think all this is tied together, Sunil? We are talking about the global impact, we are talking about the world becoming a smaller place, and we're talking about how to keep an open mind with other religion, with other cultures. Surely this is a step in the right direction.
It is certainly, and then people are coming outside their cupboards, outside their homes, and touching the governance. We have in majority of the cities where there are Indians now, Indians in the council, assemblymen.
In such important decision-making positions.
Very important for their own children who are going to schools.
Absolutely.
Nitya, we had another very, very nice event, which is I think the third year for them.
Right.
The South Asians in Media, Marketing and Entertainment Association. This is actually founded by a guy called Rajan Shah. And they always organize a classy, absolutely classy event. And it's done in a partnership with Time Warner Inc. And it was held, of course, in the New York headquarters of Time Warner, global headquarters actually, in the collaboration with them. And they had really some of the big guys from the media and marketing industry. What they hear is they're here to encourage, to meet, to help network Indians who have done very well in the media, mainstream media included, of course, and the marketing position, and including in entertainment. They had this time the Anne Mukherjee, Chief Marketing Officer of Frito-Lay PepsiCo,
yes.
And she actually won the Marketeer of the Year Brand Week. Then they had Louis Samps, Senior Vice President, President of Turner International, Turner, India, who have done extraordinarily well in India. Turner is one company. They seem to have gone early, and then they were kind of laid back, and then they
proceeded far ahead.
They have done very, very well for themselves. And of course, our own Uday Kumar, who is head of North America for Reliance Entertainment, which is a huge partnership between Reliance and some of the top houses in Hollywood. And Rajan was very clear in explaining the goal and what his vision is and how it helps. He said, we created the Sama Summit to lend voice to the growing number of South Asian in media and entertainment in the US, as well as to bring together South Asian leaders in increasingly interdependent worlds of media, marketing and entertainment. It is such a unique combination of these three powerful words which are coming together to create this industry. That is our goal, and we are proud of the leaders participating this year. We hope to inspire other South Asians to the endless possibilities of success in our industry. That is what Rajan Shah.
There are indeed endless venues as far as these three industries are concerned. regardless of the current economic status.
It doesn't matter because entertainment seems to be doing very well.
Very well.
And media generally in the mainstream is certainly doing well. And we had Rishad Tobacowala. He was also one of the panelists, and he said the world around us keeps changing and it needs time, thought and preparation to go forward. It's really important to be authentic and keep reinventing ourselves.
Absolutely.
So if you're talking of global marketing practices, you're talking of media at a global level, you're talking of entertainment which is crossing the boundaries left, right and center, the idea is to make sure that that we look at a different level beyond the boundaries. And it's so incredible that today, Nitya, 6 out of top 10 US television sitcoms boast South Asians in prominent roles. You could never think about it.
A decade ago, this was unimaginable.
Absolutely. And then US brands and entrepreneurs are increasingly eyeing at India. They're all, I think one of my friends actually created a company, consulting company. He picks up US brands, he just introduces them to India and its cultural nuances and how to break doors. And that's his consulting job. So all the top brands, if you go to India, you walk into a mall, there is certain malls like the Shipra Mall in New Delhi. Actually, it's in Noida, which is the NCR region. It boasts of only foreign brands. There is not a single Indian brand inside the mall. So all the top brands are looking to go into India. Then the South Asian artists are now connecting with the mainstream American artists and creating innovative art, whether it is music, whether it is a band, whether it is a song, whether it's an album. It's something extraordinary that we are seeing for the last few years. That is what Sama stands up for.
And it's dual purpose. Not only are the South Asians making an impact in the entertainment and media industry, it's also the audience whose opinion is growing and wanting to see more of that.
Correct.
So they're double playing, they're interplaying, and it's great to see this.
Right. And on the same line, we talked about it last week when it was about to happen and it finally took place. The Infrastructure Today India Opportunity 2011, which was held at the Indian Consulate in New York, was a grand success. The Infrastructure Today, which is one of the widely read magazines in this specialized area in India, and Aspire International Group Inc. from US, they came together to organize this opportunity from what they expect in the coming years to help in terms of trade, in terms of investments, as we talked about last week. And fortunately, the conference had such a big turnout. Our own Mr. Pratap Vijay Padode, he was so happy when I met with him. He is the CEO and president of Aspire, because he had Senator Larry Presler, he had Diane Farrell, she's the executive vice president of USIBC, and of course Steve Forbes, the chairman of Forbes, was present along with many delegates. And the discussions was very clear that India has a continuing growth. And it is expected to be the world's largest economy by
2050.
2050.
Yes.
And Aspire International Group hosted this conference to provide a global platform for infrastructure in India and bring various clients and industries from around the world, because their mission is to hold similar conferences around the world, but especially in US, to present various perspectives on business opportunities to the developing Indian market. I think it's a noble mission. It was done very successfully, and they chose the right place.
And it was received very well, right?
Oh yeah, they had 200 delegates, all-day conference discussions. He actually came to our own studio, and he did the show Building Bridges with Gurmeet Sori. And why don't we show some clips of their discussion where he is himself explaining what he did.
Absolutely.
This is being organized by Aspire International Group, okay? And it's to discuss the Infrastructure Today India Opportunity 2011 Conference. This is first of its kind that you're doing, I understand?
Right.
And the lineups of the speakers, the guests, the dignitaries that you have there is absolutely amazing. So I am going to first ask you, with everything that I'm reading about this, the conference will have participation from over 100 delegates, including ministers, bureaucrats, planners, and industrialists from India and the USA, to give their expert presentations on policy, finance, and technical aspects of infrastructure in India.
Right.
That's really strong. I mean, just reading it, it's strong. Putting it together, it's definitely a job. So tell me a little about that.
See, India now has planned in the 12th five-year plan, which begins 2012 and ends in 2017, a requirement of investment of $1 trillion in infrastructure,
Okay.
of which 50%, which is 500 billion, has to come from the private sector.
Which
And India, and we know that the government doesn't have that much money, so we need to actually engage with the world, which is actually seeking that kind of an opportunity
Okay.
in a growing economy.
Okay.
The US, with the current situation that it is in, it needs to integrate with the Indian economy in offering that kind of activity for infrastructure, because we need the experience that US has, the funds that US can provide, long-term funds, because infrastructure is a business which requires long-term funds, because there's a long-term gestation there
Okay.
involved. And so far, the US has been on the sidelines watching and selling equipment to India, whether it be power or nuclear or any of that kind. But I think it's time now that the US, and it is, I think they are already an advanced stage of considering this, that they must engage as developers in our growing economy, take on the risks of developers, and so that you can have people take up airports, ports. Now we've got 500 airports in India supposed to be, of which only 100 actually operate.
So Nitya, that was Pratap. How candidly he spoke. They covered a huge, subject in this 45-minute interview, which was again on our channel as well as available on the YouTube, the Building Bridges, with our own Gurmeet Sori, the numero uno host for such shows. Moving on to another big celebrity.
Not only we are not left behind in any field now, be it media, be it entertainment, and now in the very world of cooking. We have Vikas Khanna. He's a budding young culinary genius, apparently. And he launched his cookbook, Flavors First.
Yeah.
Right? So he was responsible for the opening of this top-notch restaurant called Junoon, which means passion.
Right.
It opened around 8 months ago. It's received rave reviews. And in his book, he writes the whole book reeks of nostalgia, simply because he talks about how he learned cooking by the side of his grandmother.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah, he's so fond of his grandmother, yeah.
And the passion, the love for his grandmother just shines through in the entire book. And the hand that he uses while cooking, the spices, everything smacks of her touch.
True. Well, that's why he says that one of the stories speaks about the generosity and abundance of spirit, which is obviously coming from his heritage. But on the serious note, Vikas is very clear. He says, I would like to be rooted and keep it as authentic as the traditional Indian cooking. And he says, we're not just pleasing or satisfying
Any palate. That's right.
He is even going to the extent that we also balance the menu to represent regions by even doing street food at a gourmet level. And he says, I am pleased to be part of this fraternity. He's so proud of his profession. And he's
Absolutely.
actually, when he came to the studio and he was talking about, he says, I'm a child of destiny. I never plan. I never, manipulate. I just go with what I'm trained for. He studied in Manipal, India. And then slowly and steadily he moved on, and one day he said, look, I'm going to America, and he made it here. And now with his own mentor, our own Rajesh Bhardwaj, who himself is a missionary.
Right.
They formed this restaurant that you were talking about, is, so extraordinary that when you talk to Rajesh, he says, he was to open an Indian restaurant of international standard and elevate the level of cuisine to other top-notch French, Italian, and other cuisines. And he says, even though we opened it only 8 months ago and the community has started to take note of it, he says it took them 6 long years to make an Indian restaurant of this standard. You saw it. It's grand.
Absolutely.
It's grand, absolutely grand. And they have another third friend and long-term associate partner, Vipul, who actually brought these two people together. to make this, I think it's very unfair to call it a restaurant.
It's a work of art.
And it's I think a culinary institution. Like you talked about that they have that.
They have a temperature-controlled hothouse just for the spices alone.
You saw that.
Absolutely.
And you
that
can't
was
miss it. You can
brilliant.
go down, all the people who visit the restaurant just for food, they go down just to check it out, what he's talking about, because they can see.
It's a very simple fact. Heat, the atmosphere affects spices, and he took that one thing and he made it into such a very simple, innovative
And he shows
concept.
the grinding process how much with the passion.
Right.
So it shows that it's in his blood.
Absolutely.
And another thing, when they were talking about while he was releasing the book and when we visited the restaurant, they talked about the architect. It's so interesting. This architect designer has never done a restaurant. Now it was good and bad because he didn't have a preconceived idea or thoughts what he's going to do. But on the other hand, there was a risk that he may not be able to do what he's supposed to do.
Right.
You can only find it once it is done and
I
delivered.
think he delivered. I think
There
he
is
delivered
no
in
question,
spades.
and that's why the architect and designer Tariq Karim Bhai, he says he combined the Indian artistry and the modern elegance. That was his one-line brief in his mind, and it shows. If you visit the place, it absolutely is exquisite.
Follow your passion and everything else follows you. Right, Sunil?
Yeah, you just have to have patience, I guess.
Okay, hold that thought again. We have to move for a short break. Don't go anywhere. Come right back.